If you are sitting there right now thinking that the $1 million in your retirement account is your golden ticket to a worry-free future, you are operating on a map that has already been burned. For decades, the financial industry, your parents, and every mainstream advisor told you that hitting the seven-figure mark was the ultimate finish line. They called it the millionaire status. But as we navigate the economic landscape of 2026, the reality is far more brutal. $1 million is officially the new $500,000. If that sounds like an exaggeration, I wish it were. But while you were focused on saving, the rules of the financial game changed under your feet. We have just crossed the threshold of the most significant tax shift in a decade, and the silent tax of the last 5 years has hollowed out your nest egg. You cannot afford to lose 30% of your purchasing power because you are using a 2016 mindset in this 2026 world. Let's look at Bob and Sarah. Bob just turned 66 and Sarah is 64. They have been diligent savers for 40 years. They maxed out their 401ks, stayed diversified, and officially hit that $1 million milestone at the start of this year. They thought they were set to follow the classic 4% rule, which would give them $40,000 a year in income. They planned for a comfortable middle-class retirement. But when Bob sat down with the Form 1040-SR, the specific tax form designed for seniors, he realized something terrifying. Back in 2016, a $40,000 withdrawal would have covered a mortgage, a car payment, comprehensive health care, and 2 nice vacations. In 2026, that same $40,000 has been decimated. After factoring in the 22% cumulative inflation we have experienced since the early 2020s, that money only buys what about $31,000 bought just a few years ago. And that is before the Internal Revenue Service takes their cut. The first harsh reality you have to face is the sunset of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. For the last 8 years, we have lived in a historically low-tax environment. But on January 1st of 2026, those provisions officially expired. For people like Bob and Sarah, who are filing jointly, the tax brackets have shifted back to the old higher rates. Their 12% bracket just jumped to 15%. Their 22% bracket, where the bulk of their 401k withdrawals sit, has spiked to 25%. Let's do the math on their Form 1040-SR. If they take out $80,000 to live on, their tax bill has increased by thousands of dollars compared to just 1 year ago. In 2025, with a higher standard deduction and lower rates, they might have paid around $5,000 in federal taxes. Now, with the standard deduction slashed back to pre-2018 levels adjusted only slightly for inflation, and the rates moving from 12 to 15 and 22 to 25, they are looking at a tax bill closer to $8,500. That is a $3,500 hidden fee simply for retiring in 2026. That is several months of groceries or a year of car insurance gone instantly. Before we go any deeper into the healthcare black hole and the Social Security trap, I need you to do something important for your own financial survival. If you are finding this level of detail helpful, please hit the like button right now. When you like this video, the algorithm shares this data with other retirees who are being blindsided by these 2026 tax changes. If you want to stay ahead of the IRS and protect your nest egg, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are tracking every update to the 2026 tax code and the new Medicare premium brackets to make sure you don't lose your shirt. Sharing this video with a friend who is planning to retire this year could literally save them tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes. Now let's talk about the second harsh reality, which is the Medicare Part B shock. Bob thinks his health care is going to be cheap because he is on Medicare. Bob is wrong. In 2021, the Part B premium was under $150. As we sit here in 2026, the standard monthly premium has climbed to $202.90. For a couple like Bob and Sarah, that is nearly $5,000 a year just for basic doctor's visits. And that doesn't even touch their Part D drug plan or a Medigap policy. But the real danger is the income-related monthly adjustment amount, or IRMA. Medicare looks at your tax returns from 2 years prior. So in 2028, the Social Security Administration is going to look at Bob's 2026 Form 1040-SR, specifically line 11, which is the adjusted gross income. Bob decided to withdraw an extra $50,000 from his 401k this year to pay off the last of his mortgage. He thought he was being smart by entering retirement debt-free, but that extra withdrawal pushed their income over the $218,000 threshold for 2026. Because of that one move, their Medicare premiums will double in 2 years. They will be hit with a surcharge that could cost them an extra $5,000 a year. This is the IRMA cliff, And it is a trap that catches thousands of retirees who think $1 million 401k is just a bank account they can pull from whenever they want. The third reality is the Social Security tax torpedo. Bob and Sarah receive $45,000 a year in Social Security. They think it is tax-free because they paid into it their whole lives. That is a dangerous assumption. In 2026, the thresholds for taxing Social Security have not been adjusted for inflation since 1983 because their provisional income, which is half of their Social Security plus all their other 401k income, exceeds $44,000. 85% of their Social Security benefit is now subject to federal income tax. When Bob takes money out of his 401k, it doesn't just trigger tax on that withdrawal. It actually activates the tax on his Social Security benefits. This creates a marginal tax rate that can effectively be as high as 40 or 50% for every dollar taken out in certain ranges. This is why $1 million feels like 500,000. You are losing so much to these intersecting tax rules that the actual spending power of your distributions is a shadow of what you projected. Fourth, we have to address the 22% cumulative inflation wall. Between 2020 and 2026, the purchasing power of the dollar has been decimated. If you wanted to maintain a lifestyle that cost you $500,000 in 2016, you now need nearly $940,000 in 2026 just to break even. Bob looks at his $1 million balance and feels wealthy, but when he goes to repair his home or renew his auto insurance, the prices have jumped 30 to 40%. The cost of labor and materials in 2026 has skyrocketed. Car insurance premiums are up significantly because the cost of repairing modern vehicles with complex sensors and batteries has changed the risk pools. Your $1 million isn't a luxury fund anymore. In 2026, it is the bare minimum for a middle-class existence. The fifth reality is the long-term care black hole. Sarah's mother recently required a private room in a nursing home. The cost in 2026 is averaging $11,294 per month. That is over $135,000 a year. If Bob or Sarah requires just 2 years of professional care, more than a quarter of their entire $1 million nest egg is vaporized. Back in 2016, you could find quality care for $6,000 a month. But with the labor shortages and the rising cost of medical technology in 2026, those days are gone. If you haven't accounted for a specific long-term care strategy or a hybrid life policy, your $1 million is one health crisis away from being zero. Sixth is the sequence of returns risk. The market in 2026 is volatile. If Bob and Sarah's portfolio drops by 15% this year, while they are also taking their 4% withdrawal, they are committing financial suicide. They are selling shares at the bottom to fund a lifestyle that is getting more expensive due to inflation. This is why the 4% rule is considered dead by many analysts in 2026. The new safe withdrawal rate, considering current valuations and inflation, is closer to 2.8%. On $1 million portfolio, that is only $28,000 a year. Can you live on $28,000 plus Social Security in this economy? Most people cannot. Seventh is the modern lifestyle creep. In 2026, our basic needs include things that didn't exist or were cheap 10 years ago. High-speed fiber internet, multiple streaming services, and mandatory cybersecurity insurance because of the 2026 AI-driven fraud wave are now non-negotiable expenses. Travel costs have doubled. Property taxes in most states have caught up with the home value spikes of the early 2020s. Bob and Sarah aren't living extravagantly, but their fixed costs are twice what they were a decade ago. If you are starting to see how these 7 realities are squeezing your retirement, please take a second to share this video on your Facebook or send it to your siblings. We are trying to reach as many people as possible before they file their 2026 taxes and realize it is too late to make changes. Your engagement helps us keep this channel independent and focused on the hard data that traditional firms won't tell you. Now, let's talk about the solution because panic is not a plan. Bob and Sarah saved their retirement by pivoting to a 2026 strategy. First, they began strategic bracket filling. They looked at their Form 1040 and realized that even though taxes went up this year, they might go higher in the future. They started doing partial Roth conversions to move money from their taxable 401k into a tax-free Roth IRA. They are paying the 15 or 25% now to avoid the risk of 30 or 35% later. This also helps them lower their future required minimum distributions, which will protect them from IRMA surcharges down the road. Second, they implemented the IRMA buffer dance. Bob realized that if he pulls too much from his 401k, he hits that income cliff. So instead of taking $50,000 for home repairs, all from his 401k, he took $25,000 from his 401k and $25,000 from a taxable brokerage account where he only paid long-term capital gains rates. This kept his total income just below the Medicare surcharge threshold, saving him $6,000 in premiums. You have to monitor your modified adjusted gross income with surgical precision in 2026. Third, they adopted the Bucket Strategy 2.0. They put 2 years of living expenses into a high-yield cash bucket. In 2026, with interest rates remaining higher than the last decade, they are actually earning a decent return on that cash. They put another 5 years of income into inflation-protected securities like TIPS. The rest stays in growth stocks. This means if the market crashes tomorrow, they don't have to sell their stocks at a loss. They can live off their cash and inflation-protected bonds for 7 years while waiting for a recovery. This effectively eliminates the sequence of returns risk that destroys most million-dollar portfolios. Fourth, they started using qualified charitable distributions. Since Bob is over 70, he can send his required minimum distribution directly to a charity. This move is brilliant in 2026 because that money never shows up as income on his Form 1040-SR. It doesn't trigger taxes on his Social Security, and it doesn't push him toward an IRMA cliff. It is the ultimate tax cheat code for the modern retiree. The golden age of retirement, where $1 million meant you were set for life, is over. We are now in the age of financial agility. Being a millionaire in 2026 is not about the number on your statement. It is about your ability to navigate a complex web of taxes, surcharges, and inflation. You have worked 40 years to build this nest egg. Do not let the transition from 2025 to 2026 take it away from you. You need to be the CEO of your own retirement. You need to look at your tax brackets, your Medicare thresholds, and your withdrawal rates every single quarter. If this video gave you a new perspective on your retirement planning, please subscribe to the channel right now. We are dedicated to providing you with the most detailed, data-driven financial analysis on YouTube. Hit that like button and leave a comment below telling me what your biggest concern is for 2026. Are you worried about the tax cliff, or is healthcare your biggest fear? I read your comments, and they help me decide which tax forms and strategies we should break down next. Share this video with at least one person who is planning to retire soon. You could be the reason they avoid a massive tax mistake this year. Thank you for watching and for being part of this community. We are going to navigate these harsh realities together and make sure your wealth actually lasts as long as you do. I will see you in the next video, where we will dive even deeper into the specific 2026 Roth conversion ladders you should be using. Stay informed, stay tactical, and I will see you soon.